let's move on to the UV process. Let's go to the outliner, select the high res mesh. I'm going to make sure I turn off selected object live and turn that off. Make live disabled. And then I'm going to go to that high res geometry and hit Control H to hide it. And then I'm going to go to the poly surface. I'm going to make sure I'm on the move tool, so I'll hit W. And what I want to do is I want to delete the history because I have all that construction history. I also want to go to edit mesh and make sure I soften the edge on that model. And if you want, you can rename the object here, but we're not going to have very many things in this scene, so that's fine. And now let's start the UV process. So let's go up to the top here, modeling standard, and we're going to go to the workspace and go to UV editing. And we're going to go to create, and we're going to go to automatic mapping. Click on that, and that does a pretty good job since this is a, basically a cube. Automatic mapping does really well. But you can see there's some errors here that we'll have to do to clean that up. So we want, an edge right along here. But you can see it already broke everything up into UV shells and colorized them, so you have an idea of what's what. So we're going to use this new tool called under UV, 3D cut and sew UV tool. We'll click on it so we can drag to cut and then control drag to sew. So I'm just going to come in here and make sure that the UV toolkit, I'm in edge mode right here. And I'm just going to double click along this edge, and it's going to go right to that border of that shell and put a cut. I'm just going to double click, and then I'm going to come over here, and this looks a little funky. I'm going to double click here, clean that. That makes its own UV right there. Then I'm going to hit Control, and holding Control and clicking on will go in there and sew them. So I'm going to come in here, double click, I'll come in to that section there, I hit Control, and I'm going to sew these back up together. I'm going to hit Control here and sew these together. So I'm just controlling and clicking, and there we go. Hit every corner. That looks good. Over here, it looks like I might have to just do some control there, and I'll double click, and that makes that right there. There's this one right here. So control click on, I'll double click on that edge loop, and then this little edge there. That's looking pretty good there. I want to go along this edge, right to this edge. So I'm going to double click. I'll go there and find that border. That's looking pretty good. Yeah, I think that shell's good. That shell's good. Bottom shell's here. Okay. So we got a little bit here to fix. I'll double click on that one. Double click on that. Double click on that one. And double click on that. And then I'll double click on this one. And then I'll now come in with Control, and I'll click on those edges. And select those edges. That's looking good. Alright, now let's combine these with Control and click. And there you go. It looks pretty good to me here. Pretty clean. Acceptable. Now, let's go over to Transform, and I want to set the pixel density for all these UV shells. Oh, actually, before we do that, let's kind of lay them out so we can have a better idea of what we're looking at. Let's go down to Unfold, and then I'm going to say Unfold. I'm going to hit Shift and click on the Unfold button, and here we're going to pick Unfold 3D. We're going to see if we're going to try to pack it. We're going to tell it to go through 2 iterations. It's going to be a 4K map to start, and let's see, give it some room of 15 pixels, and hit apply. Make sure your object is in object mode when you do this. There you go. Now, these are not scaled properly at all, but at least it kind of went through and cleaned it up by bringing all the shells together, grouped them up together in their corresponding colors, and made it a little bit cleaner, but their pixel density is not correct. So if we go back up to under transform and go to pixel density and we say get, and it finds the number or what this, what the ratio is between all these UV shells based off the 3D space, and then we just say set. And then now that's more accurate on what that should be. And let's scroll all the way down to arrange and layout. And then we're going to go to layout, and I'm going to hold shift to get to the options. And pretty much I've got these already set. So UV 3D, packing resolution, it's got a 2K map, how many times, resolution I should say. Packing iterations, let's set it to 2. We're going to make sure they pack on top of pack together but not overlapping. We're going to have the shell pre-rotation to the vertical, so it's going to kind of line up along the height here. We want it to rotate the UV shells and translate the UV shells to what it needs to do. The map, again, we can set it to a 4K or a 2K. That's up to you. Pixel shell packing, again, this is by how many pixels they are. I'm going to go to the 2K map, so because the pixels are should work out pretty well with that. And then now hit apply. Takes a second or two for it to calculate. And there you go. That looks pretty good, pretty well packed. And then I'm going to go and select all the UV shells. I'm just going to slightly resize them and then move them up. And that should look pretty good. Yeah, there you go. And then let's go back to object mode and delete the history, and let's save this out. So save as, and I'm just going to call it, just save the myosine. Just call this front. So I save it if I ever need to get back to it. And now, to be able to move this object to different pieces of software, we'll go to File, Export Selection, and then we'll pick OBJ. All the default options, everything off. You can keep normals set to on, and then export that selection out. And then this one, I'm going to say scan box, and I'm going to call it retopo. And I'll save that out. And now we're ready to move this retopologized model and UV'd model onto another piece of software. See you guys in the next video.